You're rolling.
Hello, my name is Monica Ferguson. I'm here interviewing one of my coworkers today here at Procter & Gamble. Can you start by introducing yourself?
My name is David McDaniel. I'm the business leader for Pepto-Bismol packing line. I am responsible for the day-to-day operations and staffing and just the logistics part of running this particular line.
How long have you worked at this particular Procter & Gamble site?
Well, I've worked at both sites. At this one, I've worked about 15 years. Total, I've worked for about a total of 25 years with Procter & Gamble.
What were the other sites that you worked at?
I worked for the site we have at Brown Summit. I worked there for 10 years. I was a Denafirst manufacturing, making pot operator, is what we call them.
Okay, well, did you work with different products there, like making different products?
The main thing I worked with there is we made all the different brands of Crest toothpaste, more or less. We made all the Crest toothpaste for North and South America.
Okay. How did the machinery work? Was it like completely different from what I've seen like on line 5?
Yes, the making equipment is all TDC, PLC, Logix. It's a liquid base, powder base making vessel. We meter in chemicals, water, surfactant, depending on what type of batch we were making. Then we would use our powder handling system, which we call a DMHS. We would make for simple work. It's like a vat. It's a tub, probably about 1,500 kgs, just full of different powders, saccharin, the type of preservatives, fluoride. And then it would be shot or put in a pot through air through the cylinders and mixed in there with either the RO or hot water, sorbitol, glycerin, whichever one of the bulk liquids we were using for that particular batch.
What are some of your daily tasks here that are like required for your job?
Daily task is calculating PR, process reliability, unplanned downtime, planned downtime, focusing on stop reduction. We calculate MTBF, mean time between failure. That means mean time between stops. Setting up the line for AM, which is autonomous maintenance. Staffing is key right now. SOP, which is our standard operating procedures, making sure they are accurate and changing SOPs if we need to. Updating our SAP information, batch records to make sure that the line has the proper documentation, proper formulas to run their product.
For you specifically, when you're working here, do you have any specific goals, like to get higher up, or do you just like your position that you're working at right now?
Actually, I like the position I'm at right now. As far as higher up, I've always been interested in a process leader, which right now as a business leader and a process leader actually owns the line, owns the people. The process leader owns the equipment. I've always been more of an equipment owner. I like dealing with equipment. And so if I was to change careers or change positions, I'd like to go back to being either a process leader, or I would really like to take on safety. I'm a big proponent for safety. I would like to be in a safety role.
I know, like, just been working here, it's different with like the shifts and stuff. How do you keep your metabolism going? So like when you're switching from first, second, third shift, how do you just keep going?
That's for me. I've just been able to cope. It's each individual person copes with it their own way, and it's for the most, and it is tough. Obviously, the older you get, the tougher it is. The rotating shifts is trying, but just to some philosophy on what P&G's philosophy is on rotating shifts is that right now we want everybody to have exposure to first shift to make sure they're having exposure to if they need the plant nurse, if they need help doing their equipment ownership. We are fully staffed across the board on first shift, and obviously on second and third shift we are not as we don't have the resources here to help people. So we would like everybody to come to first shift, so to work with all the resources, the management, to make sure that they're being successful, because my job and my boss's job is to make sure everybody on the floor is successful. You know, without them, you know, we wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. See, with my experience of like the whole like shift thing, I kind of had sort of like a type of epiphany, because my dad, he works for Dow Chemical, and he's done different companies through that. Like they used to have the multi-base plants in Ohio and stuff like that. So we've moved throughout that, but with the shifts, I kind of had like an epiphany the other day where he always talked about like kind of maybe some difficulties between shifts, not just like trying to get like the product done, but maybe sometimes they'll leave something and then there's just people, you know, they have that conflict. And for me, like he's told stuff about to me, like stuff that he's done through work, and to me it's just, you know, I never really understand it because I was too young to understand. Mm-hmm. But now I get that. And my grandfather, he works in a plant in Ohio, you know, in the manufacturing field. I'm not exactly sure what he does, but he's the type of person that he's worked 40 years with that type of thing, and he's sure about himself with everything that he does with the machinery and stuff like that. But there's more conflict when it comes to people, so he has kind of he has some anger issues and some patient issues when it comes to other people, but he works well with the machines, so he's good at his work. But do you ever have any conflict, just particularly between different shifts and people, and how do you work through that?
Conflict resolution is very big with P&G. Obviously, there's always conflict. We wouldn't be a society, I mean, without having conflict. And for the most part, conflict is good. Confrontation is good. You want to make sure that you are confronting people to make sure they are doing the right things, making sure they are following the right procedures. Sometimes people take offense to the way they are approached with dealing with confrontation, and so we actually have classes that teach us how to be more mindful of the way we treat people and the way we speak to people, to help people understand, you know, it's a job. You know, if I'm confronting you for safety or quality, it's not because I'm mad at you, it's because I'm concerned about your safety, and obviously I'm concerned about the consumer's health. You know, make sure that we get them the right product. As far as the shift to shift peer confrontation, I honestly, I don't think we see enough of it. I think we see a lot of people who just live their situations, and that just, it's like holding in your emotions. It's not very good. For it to be a fully autonomous group, we need to be able to communicate effectively, and sometimes that means confronting. Hopefully you do it in a positive manner, because there's always ways you can tell somebody they're doing something wrong. But if you position it to where you're being more positive and give them another look, saying, why can't you do it like this, or as opposed to, you're not doing this, and hopefully they will be able to internalize the confrontation, or I would say confrontation, and be able to turn it around to make it work for them. But the whole point of confrontation is making sure that, sorry about that. The whole point of confrontation is making sure every team is working together and being successful. But as far as, I'm also a big proponent for profrontation, which is what we say, being positive when somebody does something right. Say, good job, pat on the back. You know, something, you know, it doesn't always, we are always quick to criticize. We're very slow to recognize, and I think that's one thing we're doing a better job of recognize people when they do successful, because, you know, you get more bees with honey than vinegar.